Did you know that wedding rings are not biblical and that it is actually an ancient Egyptian custom from well over 5,000 years ago? And this custom was later on adopted by the ancient Greeks and Romans. You see, the true history of the wedding ring actually comes from a symbol of a snake eating or swallowing its own tail, known as the Ouroboros. This custom of wearing wedding rings is actually an ancient pagan custom and not biblical. In today's lesson, we're going to allow the scriptures to speak and show you just exactly what married women in the Bible did do to show that they were married. We want to start off today's short lesson in the book of Matthew or Matthew chapter 15. Book of Matthew or Matthew chapter 15. And let us look at verse 1. Then came Yahushua, scribes and Pharisees, which were of Jerusalem, saying, Why do the disciples transgress the traditions of the elders? For they wash not their hands when they eat bread. Verse 3. But he answered and said unto them, Why do you also transgress the commandments of Elohim by your traditions? You see, we should not follow traditions of men. We should follow what the Creator instructs us to do. Next passage of scripture we want to go to is the book of Deuteronomy or Devarim chapter 4, verse 1. Now therefore hearken, listen, O Yisrael, unto the statutes and unto the judgments which I teach you, for to do them that you may live and go in and possess the land which Yahuwah Elohim of your fathers giveth you. You shall not add unto the word which I command you, neither shall ye diminish aught from it, that ye may keep the commandments of Yahuwah your Elohim. So we should not be adding to the Father's word, neither should we take away from it. Nowhere in the entirety of the scriptures do you see a custom of wearing wedding rings to represent marriage. It's not biblical. So how did married women in the Bible or scripture show that they were married? Let's allow the scriptures to show you this. Book of Ezekiel chapter 16. Let's pick it up at verse 8. And what I am about to read to you, family, is a King James version. Zondervan's King James Study Bible is where we're about to read from. You see it there in the upper right-hand corner, Ezekiel 16. And where we want to focus at is verse 8. Let me expand this so you can read this along with me. Verse 8. Now when I passed by thee and looked upon thee, behold, thy time was a time of love. And I spread my skirt over thee and covered thy nakedness. Yea, I swear unto thee and entered into a covenant. What type of covenant? We're getting ready to see. With you, saith Yahuwah, not Lord, and thou becamest mine. Verse 9. Then washed I thee with water. I thoroughly washed away thy blood from thee, and I anointed thee with oil. I clothed thee also with broidered work, and shod thee with badger skin, and I girded about with fine linen, and I covered thee with silk. I decked thee with ornaments, and I put bracelets upon thy hands, and put a chain on thy neck, and I put a jewel on thy forehead, and earrings in thy ear, and a beautiful crown. Let's look at the footnote down here on the very bottom, family. Let's expand this so you can read this along with me. You see what verse 7 says. So you see what part of the area is talking about pertaining to the body. Look at the footnote for verse 8. Spread my skirt. Symbolic of entering a marriage covenant. See note on Deuteronomy 22, which verse 13 through 20 is pertaining to when a man has physical relations with a consenting adult female virgin for the first time. Look at what it says. Symbolic of entering a marriage relationship, Deuteronomy 22, Ruth chapter 3, verse 9, covenant. Since the maiden symbolizes Jerusalem, this does not refer to the Sinai covenant, but to marriage as a covenant. Malachi 2:14 says, and Yahuwah Elohim was witness between thee and the wife of your youth. So when a man has physical relations with a consenting adult female virgin and her father's permission for the first time, when his skin pin breaks her hymen, she bleeds, and the shedding of the blood establishes the marital covenant. Women can only be Bethulas or virgins once in their life. Look at the footnote again. This does not refer to the Sinai covenant, but marriage as a covenant. Menstrual blood indicating sexual maturity. Verse 10, the footnote, broidered work and shod with badger skin, fine linen, represents the very best garments, broidered work. See chapter 27, verse 16 and 24. Color, material fit for a queen. See Psalms 45:14. Badger skin. The same kind of leather was used to cover the tabernacle. Look at what it says here. Verse 11, footnote, bracelets upon thy hand. See Genesis 24:22. On thy forehead, see margin, the jewel did not pierce the nose, but was worn on the outer portion of it. You see? So this was pertaining to marriage. When the man had relations with the adult female virgin for the first time, and he broke her hymen and she bled, marriage is established by a blood covenant. So when it said above, he washed away in verse 9, the blood from thee, because he had just broke her hymen, you see? So physical relations with a consenting adult female virgin is marriage, and according to Malachi 2:14, Yahuwah Elohim was witness to this, you see? And going to Bible Hub really quick to verify what we just read once more in Ezekiel 16 verse 12 pertaining to married women wearing a nose ring. Look at the NIV version, Bible Hub. And I put a ring on your nose and earrings on your ear and a beautiful crown on your head. A ring for your nose and earrings for your ears. Earrings for your ears and a lovely crown for your head. So married women in the Bible, to show that they were married, they actually wore a nose ring, because when a man looks at a woman, one of the first things he noticed is her face and her beauty. So when he saw her with a nose ring, he automatically knew that, hey, she's off limits. This is a married woman. And ladies and gentlemen, oxen or coatees, marriages are for life. We must get back to what's written in the Father's word and stop this divorce culture. It's not of the Father. So now that you see the origin of this ancient pagan Egyptian custom of wearing wedding rings, and now it's established that married women wore nose rings to prove that they were married, pay attention to this next scripture that we're going to. Book of Isaiah, chapter 3. Verse 16, and this is reading from the King James Zondervan Study Bible. Verse 16, moreover, Yahuwah saith, because the daughters of Zion are haughty and walk with stretched forth necks and wanton eyes, walking and mincing as they go, and making a tinkling with their feet. Therefore, Yahuwah will smite with the scab the crown of the head of the daughters of Zion, and Yahuwah will discover their secret parts. Isaiah 3, verse 18. Let's expand this so you can read this along with me. In that day, Yahuwah will take away the bravery of the tinkling ornaments about their feet, their cauls and their round tires, like moons, the chains and the bracelets and the mufflers, the bonnets and the ornaments of the leg, and the headband, and the tabrets, and the earrings. Look at verse 21. The rings and the nose jewels. So these were married women who became proud, you see, and covenant breakers. Listen, verse 21. The ring and the nose jewels, only married women in the Bible wore nose jewels. Listen, the changeable suits of apparel and the mantles and the wimples and the crisping pins, the glasses of the fine linen and of the hoods and the veils. And it shall come to pass that instead of a sweet smell, there shall be a stench or stink, and instead of a girdle, a rent, and instead of well-set hair, baldness, and instead of a stomacher, a girding of sackcloth, and instead of beauty, a sword, and thy men, the mighty men in war, look at what it says, and her gates shall lament, and she being desolate shall sit on the ground. Let's look at the footnotes down here. Verse 18, round crescent-shaped jewelry indicating the veneration of the sun and moon, bonnets, perhaps a kind of turban. See Ezekiel 24, verse 17 and 23. Verse 21, contained a seal were a mark of authority, nose jewels, sometime made of gold and worn by what? Brides. You see? Verse 24, and instead of their expensive clothing, the women of Zion, which are melanated women, all 12 tribes were melanated, so-called black. The women of Zion will be taken away as captives and treated like cattle. They will be led away by ropes and branded. Her gates, verse 26, footnote, the gates are personified as in Psalms 24, verse 7 and 9. They will lament because the crowds that used to assemble there are gone. Look at verse Isaiah 4 and 1. In that day, see notes on 2 and 2, 2:11, 2:17, 2:20. After judgment comes salvation. Isaiah 4 and 1. See note for 3:6. War will decimate the male population. See a footnote for Isaiah 3:25 and Isaiah 13 verse 12. Leaving many women with the double disgrace of being widows and childless. You see? So the disgrace was not only being uncovered, unmarried, the disgrace also was being childless. What does Isaiah 13 and 12 say? I will make a man more precious than fine gold, even a man than the golden wedge of Ophir. So married women were the only women that wore wedding rings. And these women, according to Isaiah 3:16, became prideful and haughty, walking and mincing as they go. They were married women who were either widows or had broke covenant. Did you know that the United States has been involved in military conflict or wars for over 90% of its history, and is often cited to as approximately 220 to 230 plus years out of its 250-year existence since 1776? America has only had roughly 17 years of peace. They have continually been at war since its independence of 1776, with only 17 years of peace. So that's how a man has become more precious than fine gold, not only in America, but the world. And that's not to say that women are not precious, because you are. But I am just trying to prove and show that prophecy is fulfilling itself right before our very eyes. Bible Hub commentary, Isaiah 4:1, and in that day 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel, clothing, only let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach. Bible Hub commentary, these are biblical scholars, biblical theologians, and this is what they say according to Bible Hub commentary. Isaiah 4:1 is where this information is coming from. And in that day 7 women, the chapter division wrongly separates this verse from the foregoing. It comes as the climax of the chastisement of the daughters of Zion, as the companion picture to Isaiah 3:6. As men sought eagerly yet in vain a protector, so women should seek for a husband. Those who had been wooed and courted and had been proudly fastidized should supplicate in eager rivalry. The 7 women to one man implies a land depopulated by war. We have been at war continually for nearly 230 years. More commentary. The chapter division here wrongly separates this verse from the foregoing. It comes as a climax as the chastisement of the daughters of Zion, as a companion picture to Isaiah 3:6. And you see it here. Those who had been wooed and courted and had been proudly fastidized to supplicate eager rivalry. The 7 women to one man implies a land depopulated by war, therefore making polygyny natural for the protection of marriage, and that not of the usual conditions, having food, clothing found for them, such as found in Exodus 21:10, but as working for their own livelihoods. How many educated, highly educated, melanated black women do we see today successful in society, having their own homes, their own accounts, doing very well by the world standards, but yet they have no husband. They have no covering. Look at what it says. 7 women shall take hold of one man. The war and captivity shall make a scarcity in the male sex, that 7 women shall gladly to apply to a single man for protection of preservation and marriage, and shall importune him, though contrary to the natural modesty of their sex, to consent to take away their reproach, for not barrenness only, but a single state also was reckoned opprobrious among the Hebrews. And in spite of the natural suggestions of jealousy, they will each be content with the share only rights in marriage. Look at the map of the world. Far more women on the planet than men. Can you not see prophecy unfolding right before your very eyes? Why don't these Christian preachers teach and tell the truth? Here's another map. Millions of more women than men. Biblical marriage. Married women wore nose rings to prove they were married. Interesting history lesson, but always study to show yourselves approved. Much love and respect. Until next time, shalom.